Welcome in, everybody, to the first official episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I am your host, Devin, joined by my co-host, Jaden. You can go ahead and say what's up.
Oh, what's going on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dude, I feel like a kid on the first day of Christmas right now. Like, we've been ramping up for this for a while. I'm so excited to get into this. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to go over, a lot of fun segments. So before we get into any of the, juicy topics, we're going over every team's over under. We're going over award predictions. But before we get into all that, before every single episode, Jaden is going to come with pregame talk. I'm going to let him get into that and describe that, what all goes into that. So, Jaden, if you want to go over your segment.
Yeah. So basically, this is just segment to start the episode, get the juices going. It's, it could be focused on current topics or discourse going on around the league. Could also be like maybe a little mini trivia game I feel like hitting Devin with, or a scenario-based question, or it could just be a random sports question in general. But, it's just to get the ball rolling on each episode to start off the episode.
All right, so for the first official episode, what is the first pregame we got? Pregame talk. Right.
This is gonna be a little, out of left field, not have to do with anything going on around the current state of the league right now. Mm-hmm. It is going to be, what are your top three? And this is your personal opinion. It doesn't have to be like the greatest, just your favorite,
right,
sports movies of all time.
What is my favorite 3 sports movies of all time? And we're just saying sports in general?
Just sports. It doesn't have to be NFL related.
I think definitely the first one that came to mind is Coach Carter. I mean, that's just that's an icon. That's a staple in the sports, community. And I love that movie. I actually just recently rewatched that probably a couple weeks ago now, when I was over at my dad's house. And that's just an all-timer. I think Coach Carter would for sure be in my top 3. I think also this is a classic. I know we watched this a ton growing up, but Longest Yard, just to bring it back to football, Longest Yard is definitely up there. And I'm trying to think 3. Those 2 immediately came to mind. And the third one,
I think I know your third. I think you may just be blanking on it if you can't think of it right now.
I think Hardball came to mind. I think if we're counting this one, because I think for sure, I think it's more than a sports movie overall, but I think this would easily be in my top 3, and it's White Men Can't Jump. I mean, that's
what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's a movie.
Love that movie.
I watched. I can go bar for bar watching that movie. I mean, going over lines that are coming up. I mean, just great actors all around. A great plot. That's an all timer for sure. I think those would be my top 3. There's a ton more that I could mention, but I think my personal top 3, if I had to rank them, I think White Men Can't Jump would be 1 for me, just because I've watched that so many times. I'd probably go Coach Carter 2, and then Longest Yard 3. I think those. And like I said, there's a ton that I.
And make sure you specify on the newer Longest Yard.
Yeah, the newest, right.
70s.
Yeah, true.
With Adam Sandler.
Did you have any that I maybe even didn't mention?
You kind of caught me off guard. I didn't have a top 3 ready.
No, you're good.
I mean, I know some. I can name some that I know that are up there that you didn't mention, like The Sandlot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Rocky's up there.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about like the boxing ones. Yeah,
Love and Basketball.
Yep.
Space Jam.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a ton. Yeah, that's a good one though. But I think for me personally, Rudy, yeah.
Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans. That was another one that came to mind. But I haven't watched that a lot. I think I've only watched that once, maybe twice, and it was a long time ago. It was when I was really young. So I don't. That would be one that I would have to rewatch, and that could probably make my top 3. That'll probably be in a lot of people's top 3. But for me personally, I've just only watched it, I think, once, and I was just way too young to remember. But yeah, my top three for sure. White Men Can't Jump, Coach Carter, and Longest Yard. I think those would be my
Solid
top three. So it's a good question. Great question. Great pregame talk to start off the pod. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into this. Over under, we're going to go over every single division, every single team, obviously. And I think we're going to start out with the AFC East. This division has one of the four teams with the highest over under, with the Bills at 11.5. And we'll go ahead and start out with them. I have the Bills going over 11.5. I think they have a very favorable schedule. I think they have, let's see, what is it here? They have the fifth easiest schedule in terms of strength of schedule from win percentage from last season. So they have an easy schedule, and this is without a doubt a Super Bowl contending team. Every single time you have Josh Allen as your quarterback, that's what you are in the Josh Allen era. They have, I want to say, besides his rookie year, and they maybe even did it that year, I can't remember. I believe this team has hit 10 wins every single year and made the playoffs of the Josh Allen era. And that's impressive, especially coming from, a Raider fan like myself. Seeing 10 wins is not common. But anyway, to continue on the Bills, I do have them over at 11.5. As I mentioned, the favorable schedule. Their receiving core is still, to be desired. They still are looking for that wide receiver one post the Stephon Diggs era. But they have a lot of quality players that I think can get it done. And when you have a dynamic playmaker like Allen in the backfield, James Cook just recently got signed to his new contract, and he was great last year. Their offensive line is mean. They are a mean offensive line group down there. So I think the offense is going to be a great place. I mean, they were amazing last year, even without, the greatest wide receivers. But it's their defense that I question a lot. Their interior defensive line is really bad, along with their safeties. Obviously DeMar Hamlin with his whole situation a while ago, not to, say anything about it, but he's not the greatest player. You don't really want him in your secondary as a starting safety, asking him to do a whole lot. And as I mentioned as well, their interior defensive line is just, it's not great, man. Ed Oliver was a player that was solid a few years ago, but I want to say last year, I think he had like 14 solo tackles as a defensive tackle, an interior defensive lineman that played a lot. And that's just not something that you like. They tried to fix that up in the draft. They got TJ Sanders, I want to say, in the second or third round. I think it was second, though. I'm not sure how much he's going to play as a rookie, but hopefully he can develop into something. They obviously got Maxwell Harrison in the first round, and he's hopefully going to be their cornerback one going forward. Obviously, he has a lot of question marks when it comes to his game. He's not a super polished corner, but he's a hell of an athlete. And when you have that at cornerback, it makes developing it a lot more fun. They brought in, veterans like Joey Bosa off the edge to try to help out, but their edge rushers are, pretty good so far. AJ Epineza, Gregory Rousseau, those guys are great, especially in the run. So I think their defense and offense is still going to be amazing. This team is still a threat to win it all. So 11.5, I do have at over. Moving on to the New England Patriots at 8.5. I have that over as well. And this is my first lock of the video. I have 3 locks throughout this. Jaden also does as well. Once we get to hit his teams that are locks, we'll go ahead and bring him in to hear what he has to say. But the Patriots, I have 8.5. I have that as an over lock. I really like this team, man. I just really do. I think Drake May's a stud. Last year, going into the draft, Drake May was my quarterback too, even though he went at 3. Looking back at that, obviously Jaden Daniels had the greatest rookie quarterback season ever, so you're not going to fault the Commanders much, but I really like Drake May. I think the dude's a stud. I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback in this league, and the Patriots did a lot to help him out, especially on the offensive side of the ball. drafting Kyle Williams, drafting Will Campbell, signing Stephon Diggs, signing Bradbury at center. They even got Morgan Moses at tackle. I mean, this is an entirely revamped offense. And this team was really bad last year. I know you look at Drake May's stats, and I'm hyping him up, and I think he had like 15 touchdowns, 10 interceptions last year. The fact that was even positive, I mean, says a lot. This team was really, really bad last year. And the improvements that they made, I think, are going to be massive, especially when you look at Mike Vrabel and his culture-setting ability coming in at head coach. This is going to be, I think, a brand new team. It's going to be a whole new look Patriots. And it's crazy. You lose Tom Brady, 6-7 years ago now, and they're, I mean, right back to it. I think this team is going to be a force for years to come. Even on the defensive side, they've got some playmakers, even though last year was really, really bad on both ends. I mean, it didn't get much worse than the Patriots last year as far as teams. I mean, it was like the Browns, Titans, Giants, and then, them. I think that was the exact draft order. But, like, once you talk about those bottom teams, the Patriots were, arguably the worst. That team was really, really bad last year. But they got loads of talent now. Christian Gonzalez, one of my favorite cornerbacks in the NFL. That dude's a monster, bro. I mean, you look at the numbers, that dude is in top 3 talks. I think you have Surtain and Stingley at the top, and you could have a real argument for Christian Gonzalez at number 3. So I have the Patriots 8.5. I have that as an overlock, as I mentioned. Moving on to the Dolphins, also at an 8.5. I have this as an under. My first under of the video. I think this offense can still be effective. But I just look at that defense and I look at their tackles, and it's just, I'm not in love with that, And I also can't take every team as an over. So I'm going to have teams at an under, and I'm not fully like against that team. You know what I mean? I'm not taking a team if their over under is at 9.5. I'm taking the under. I think they're going to be a 5-win team. That could just be a 1-game difference. I think this team could be at 8 and 9 even. And it's just like, unfortunately, that's the under. So I think that, like I said, I think the offense can still be effective. I think Tua is going to be good. I think Tyreek's going to have a solid bounce back. But like I said, I look at those tackles and I don't love it. I look at their cornerbacks. I mean, their starting cornerbacks right now, I believe, are Kendall Sheffield and Storm Duck. Those are their boundary corners right now. And that's, I mean, that is not great to have. So unfortunately, that's going to be the team that I take the first under on. The next team I'm moving on to is the New York Jets at 5.5, and I have them as an over. I have this division at 3 overs, 1 under. I just think Aaron Glenn, he's one of those guys, man. He's like a Mike Vrabel. He's obviously coming from the Dan Campbell system. He's a culture setter. I think this team is going to go in a really great rebuild route, and it starts with Aaron Glenn. They've got some really good draft picks over the past few years to start building over that. Especially you look at that offensive line. They've invested 3 first-round picks, I think, over the past 4 years in the offensive line. So this is going to be a fun rebuild. It's going to be a new year for Jets fans. The one thing that does worry me, and I know there's going to be a lot of fans that don't like to hear this, but Justin Fields, I just don't know if I buy as a starting quarterback in this league. Unfortunately, I really did like him coming out of college, but he just can't read NFL defenses. He can't pass at a high level, and to be an effective quarterback, you have to do that. And if I'm not mistaken, Jaden, this is one of your locks, right?
Yeah, I kind of went back on that. I'm not sure if I'm going to lock their over anymore.
Yeah.
I was originally confident in them, but the more I look at it, Justin Fields, I mean, he can win you games for sure, but I don't know how much faith I want to put into a lock on that. I mean, I love their defense, but I like Aaron Glenn and all that, but it comes down to the most important position on the field, and I don't know how much I trust Justin Fields.
Yeah. I think my optimism with them, and I can agree with that going back on that lock.
But let me just be clear. I do think they will hit their over. I just don't. I don't want to. I don't know if I want to lock it anymore. But
Yeah, I
I
can
mean, it
understand
tells
that.
you. I mean, I was thinking about it. I am confident that they will hit their over. But yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, 5.5 is a really low bar to hit. Last year, I think they hit 6. I think they hit 6 wins, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, they do have an amazing defense still. They have a lot of all pro caliber players. Losing DJ Reed hurts a lot. He was really good last year. Like Sauce Gardner is a top, 5-ish corner, and he was better than him last year. So that's a big hit to their defense. But I do love their defense, and the one thing that I really am optimistic about this offense is their run game. They have a really good two-man out the backfield with Brees Hall and Braden Allen, right? If I'm not mistaken, Braden. And especially when you have Justin Fields being able to run the option with those two. Braylon, right. Braylon Allen, Brees Hall, Justin Fields in the backfield with a really good offensive line. I think that can definitely win games, especially with their defense. So that is the AFC East. Moving on, our next division is going to stick in the AFC North, another team or another division that has an 11.5 team, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. And again, I'm taking the over. I know these are some high overs. I am saying that this Ravens team is going to win 12 or more games, and I feel confident in that. They have arguably the best quarterback in the league. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes still exists, but just looking at numbers, this guy probably, in my opinion, should have won back-to-back MVPs. And I think this team got better. You look at the additions, you look at Malachi Starks in the draft. They pick up Jair Alexander, who, in my opinion, is still a good cornerback. He's not what he was a few years ago, but I think he can still be effective. They picked up DeAndre Hopkins on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, my reaction, you can kind of tell from what that's going to be. I don't know what that's really going to do. It's a veteran presence out there, but DeAndre Hopkins obviously is not the player he once was. But when you have Derrick Henry and you have Lamar Jackson on the offensive side of the ball, I'm not really tripping who you have around them, really. Those two are going to get it done. They still have a solid offensive line. But the biggest thing with this team is it's Super Bowl or bust for them. I know this episode is just over/under. We're just looking at the regular season. But this team, and even the same thing with the Bills, I think it's just like you have year after year where it's like, this is their year, this is their year. And it's like, how long can you keep up this amount of talent around your quarterbacks before, it becomes unmanageable? You bring in Derrick Henry, he's getting up there now. I think he's 31 now. Maybe he's still 30. But you get a nearly 2,000-yard rusher next to Lamar. It's almost like, how is that not a Super Bowl team? So I'm really hoping this is the year they can break through. I still think they're going to be one of the best teams in the league. I still think Lamar is going to have an unreal season. I mean, last year, come on, what is that? Maybe a top 5 quarterback season ever. That dude is unreal. So I still like them, 11.5. I'm taking that over. I got them as a 12-win team or better. Moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals at 9.5. I have this as an over as well. I've taken a lot of overs this video, but it's hard to see these teams and be confident in an under. I think 10-7 is not that crazy to ask for from this team. I know last year this team was unreal. If you tell me this season if you were to tell me last season Joe Burrow is going to lead the league in passing yards, lead the league in passing touchdowns, and Jamar Chase is going to win the Triple Crown, I would have took their over as well. But unfortunately, they have one of the worst defenses in the league, and that's just that. But their offense is amazing. And it's unfortunate that their defense is in the place they're in, especially with how much draft capital they've invested into it over the past few years. What was it? They got Dax Hill in the first round a few years ago now, Miles Murphy in the first round a few years ago now. And even in like the second and third round, they've invested, in the DBs and the linebackers and the defensive line. And then obviously this past year with Shamar Stewart, luckily they're able to get him to sign a contract because that whole situation was wild. But there's still the whole Trey Hendrickson thing going on. And he was kind of tying that whole defense together. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there. That whole team is kind of a mess, which is kind of crazy. I'm saying all this while taking their over. I just trust that offense so much. I think it's going to be so good. And last year, I want to say they went 9-8. I want to say I don't think they were 8-9. I think they were positive by one game. So if you're telling me they just have to squeeze out one more game, I mean they were really close on doing that with a lot of games. I think both of the Ravens games that they lost, they were like winning in both of those games by like a decent amount, and they blew a lead in both of those because of their, defense, obviously. But I think the offense is still going to be good. I think 9.5 is not that crazy. I think this is a double-digit win team. 10-7, I don't believe it's that crazy of a mark to hit. And moving on to the Steelers, I have my second under of the video. And this one's going to maybe cause some reactions. If the Steelers were to go 8-9, that is their first season going under 500 in the Mike Tomlin era, which would be crazy, right? I think he's been a head coach for what? What would that be now? I mean, he's got to be pushing, 20-ish years now as a Steelers head coach or something around there. And unfortunately, I do have this year being the first season. Yeah. But I don't know. I love Aaron Rodgers. He's my favorite quarterback of all time, but he just doesn't have it no more. And they're in a tough division with the Bengals and the Ravens. Obviously, they have the Browns 2 times, but I think this is their year. Obviously, they made a ton of changes. Obviously, bringing in Aaron Rodgers, bringing in DK Metcalf. You look at the defensive side of the ball, Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey. Like, if this was like 3 or 4 years ago, I mean, you're talking about like a Super Bowl caliber team. But unfortunately, we're entering the 2025 season, and those players are just not what they were. So I do unfortunately have the Steelers going under 8.5.
18 years, by the way, for Mike Tomlin.
18. Yeah, I knew it was pushing 20, so 18 makes sense. And the last team in this division that we're touching on is the Browns, 4.5. I have it as an under. It is so hard. There's 2 other teams, and I'll get to them once we get to their divisions, but there's 2 other teams where it's like their over-under is so low, but it's so hard to see these teams winning any games. I mean, especially when you look at the quarterback play. And the Browns, according to strength of schedule, have the second hardest. They have the second hardest strength of schedule going into this season. And when you look at that quarterback room, when you look at that, receiving core outside of Jerry Jeudy, when you look at the defense, it's just they have some playmakers, but quarterback is the most important position in football, and they don't have a great quarterback room. So they just came off having, the 5th overall pick? Or did they have... No, they had the 3rd overall pick and then traded it out. So, yeah, I think they're going to be in a similar situation, unfortunately. I just don't know if I can see the Cleveland Browns, winning 5 games, going 5-12, unfortunately.
By the way, yeah. I mean, second hardest schedule. NFL decided to not only, they have no, choice to not play the teams in their position in their division. Obviously, they play the AFC North, and then the other division they were playing on their schedule is the NFC North. So they just decided to put them through the gauntlet this year.
Yeah, there's a couple teams where they just, they didn't give them a really easy path. So that's a pretty easy under. Next division we're touching on is the AFC South. And this is my next lock. I had the Patriots as a lock, and my next lock is the Houston Texans, 9.5. I have this as an over lock. This team is really good, man. I think this is the most underrated defense in the league. When you look at last year, the top 5 defenses in EPA per play and success rate allowed, it is the Baltimore Ravens, the Denver Broncos, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans, according to this specific metric, when it comes to, I should specify this. It's NFL EPA per play, success rate allowed, and it's their pass defense versus true drop backs. So it's basically, their secondary mixed with a little bit of their pass rush, kind of overall defense when they're facing true drop backs. And they were the best defense in the league when it comes to those two metrics. So this is a really good team. Obviously, the Tank Dell injury is going to hurt them a little bit, but they invested a lot in the draft at receiver. They got Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel in the second and third round, both of the Iowa State receivers. And Jaden Higgins is going to play a lot. I believe the reports are that he's going to be their wide receiver too, next to Nico. CJ Stroud is still one of the best quarterbacks in the game. And when you have those two out there, I think Jaden Higgins is going to be a really underrated player this year. And obviously Nico Collins, as long as he can stay on the field, the dude is a bona fide top 7 receiver, arguably higher, depending on if he can just play a full season. The dude's an absolute stud. And they also traded for Christian Kirk. I kind of forgot about that, honestly, until I started making my notes for this video. So that is not a bad receiving room at all. Obviously, if you were to added Tank Dell to that, now they obviously don't trade for Christian Kirk, I don't believe, if Tank Dell is healthy. But it's a really good offense, a really great defense. The one thing that is, I think, going to hurt this team quite a bit is the Laramie Tunsil loss. He's still one of the best tackles in this league, protecting CJ Stroud's blind side. They got a huge hole to fill there, so we'll see what they're able to do with that. But I have this team as a 10-win team, especially considering the division they're in, one of the weaker divisions in football, and I think they are the best team. So I'm going 9.5 over as a lock. The next team I have is the Jacksonville Jaguars. 7.5. I have this also as an over. They made the splash in the draft, trading up for Travis Hunter, the special two-way player who I think is going to make an immediate impact on both sides of the ball. They bring in Liam Cohen, former offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this offense should be exciting. As long as Trevor Lawrence can stay healthy, I think he's going to get the ball to BTJ. He's going to get the ball to Travis Hunter, and they're going to be pretty explosive. Now, I don't love their offensive line. That's the part that sucks about this. But I think Liam Cohen can get this thing rolling, and I think this offense can be very, very effective. On the defensive side of the ball, they have 2 pretty good edge rushers. Outside of that, it's not a great defense, to say the least. But I'm relying a lot on this offense. I still do believe Trevor Lawrence is a great quarterback. I'm going to pull that back on great. I think he's a pretty good quarterback. Depending on what happens this season, I think we'll see what that happens going forward. Is he great? Or if he still shows pretty heavy struggles with an offensive-minded coach like Liam Cohen and an improved receiving core, I think then you'll start having real questions. But for right now, I still do believe Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback, and with that help on the offensive side of the ball, I think he should have the best season of his career. So 7.5, I think this is an 8-9, 9-8 type of team. The next team in this division also is at 7.5, the Indianapolis Colts. I have this team as an under. The injuries on defense is a little concerning, and obviously the biggest question mark with this team is Anthony Richardson. This dude, it's a coin flip with him on every play. He's either going to make the craziest throw you've ever seen in your life, or B, he's going to look like he shouldn't even be playing the position. It's such a weird player, and that's what it is when you take these swings at quarterback high on the drafts, who are these, uber athletic players that play the position, and it's like, if you can get them to understand NFL defenses, if you can get them to just lock in, they can be, superhumans. You'll end up with a Cam Newton or a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson, but unfortunately for A-Rich, it has not looked pretty so far. Obviously, he's dealt with injuries his first 2 years in his career, and that's no difference this year when he got, sacked. Obviously, he's back playing now, so hopefully he'll be okay. But I think in this modern day NFL, I think this year, unfortunately, will be kind of like a make or break for A-Rich. If he comes back and has a similar season to the first 2 years, at the end of the day, you don't get that long of a leash in the NFL anymore. You get 3 to 4 years to kind of show it, and he'll still get chances. He's not going to be out the league completely just because he is still very talented and he was taken with such a high pick. There's still going to be teams. I mean, Trey Lance is still on a team right now. So these quarterbacks, they get a long leash to stay in the NFL, but they don't get a very long leash to stay starters, I should say. So A-Rich, it's a big year for them, but 7.5, I think that's just a little too rich for me. I think I'm going to have this team as a 6 or potentially, right at 7 win team. And the last team in this division is the Tennessee Titans. This is another team that I was talking about earlier when I was mentioning the Browns. It's a hard team to see winning that many games. At 5.5, I do have this as an under. I think Cam Ward is set up for success this season, though. I think this offense, it can make some noise. I think the offensive line is pretty good. Obviously, the receivers, I mean, they're having an unction out there, but I think it can still be effective. And from the throws I've seen this guy make in preseason, he's got some zip on that ball. So I think he's going to be a pretty good quarterback in this league. And I even like their running back duo. Their running back room is pretty good with Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. I want to say Tajay Spears just had some injury, some type of injury, if I'm not mistaken, recently. I can't remember what it was, but I want to say I saw that report. I could be mistaken, but hopefully it's nothing too serious because they were a pretty solid running back duo last year, and that would help out, Cam Ward a lot.
I believe it was a high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
Set to miss the rest of the preseason. Hopefully, comes back healthy for the regular season.
Hopefully he's good to go for week 1. But their defense, not pretty. But this is a full rebuild, and you hope to have your quarterback of the future in Cam Ward. So even if this team were to only win 5 games, I don't think that's a failure of a season. As long as Cam Ward shows flashes and this team makes progression, they're more competitive. I think that's all you can ask when you're this early in a rebuild. So that is the AFC South. The final AFC team or AFC division we're getting to is the AFC West. We have the Kansas City Chiefs at the 3rd of the 4th teams to have an 11.5. And again, I have it at an over. So 3 for 3 on the 11.5 overs. It's hard to pick against this team. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's Travis Kelce. It's Chris Jones. It's Andy Reid. It's Spags. I mean, they got it all. This team year after year is going to do their thing. And they made slight improvements in big areas where they needed to. Obviously, drafting Josh Simmons in the draft and Rashee Rice coming back. Obviously, he's got his legal issues. We're going to see what happens there. I want to say he has like a hearing in the middle of September to end of September, but he's going to be able to play, I think, the first 4 games before that happens, and then we'll see what happens with the suspension there. I haven't heard anything or haven't seen anything about the potential length. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. It'll probably be maybe 4 to 6 games, but as long as he's on the field for at least 50% of their games, I think that's going to be a big boost to this defense. Xavier Worthy in year 2, I think, is also going to be really good. And their defense, even though I really don't like a lot of parts of this defense, I think their DB room is very questionable outside of Trent McDuffie. I mean, Spags is one of the greatest defensive minds football has ever seen. He's going to have those guys looking pretty good. And I mean, Chris Jones is as good as it gets on the defensive side of the ball. He's a guy that's not going to have 20 sacks in a season, but he can wreck a game. Coming from a Raider fan, I know that all too well. So I have them at an over 11.5 wins. The next team is the Los Angeles Chargers, 9.5. I have this as an under. I really, really do like this team, but the Rashawn Slater injury is big. I think it's big. I think it's going to change a lot on this offense. You're going to have Joe Alt moving from right tackle to left tackle, to supplement that. I think if this team does have Slater, I think it's a different story, different questions, but that's a big hit, especially with an offense that doesn't have, I don't want to say doesn't have a ton of talent, but doesn't have a lot of for sure, star power. Ladd McConkey, I do believe, is a star in this league. Obviously, you've seen that as a rookie. Amarion Hampton, they drafted in the first round, who I do think is going to be good, but he's a rookie, so you don't know what you're going to see from him. But outside of that, there's big question marks with their receiving room and their interior offensive line. They bring in Keenan Allen, a reunion, but Keenan Allen is not the player he once was, obviously, but he can still be solid. Quentin Johnson obviously has his drop issues, but the big part of this team was their tackle duo. When you have those tackles and you have a top 5-ish quarterback like Justin Herbert, he can make things work, and he's still going to make things work. I think this team is still a 9-win team, but they're in a tough division. Can I see them getting to double-digit wins? Maybe, but me personally, I'm taking the under. The next team in this division is also 9.5, and this is my final lock. I had 3 locks. I had the Patriots, I had the Texans, and I have the Broncos. 9.5, I think this is for sure a double-digit win team. They were 10-7 last year, if I'm not mistaken. And I think they're going to repeat that. And I think they're going to be even better. I think this is an 11-12 win team. Their defense, which was, as I mentioned earlier about the past defenses, a top 5 defense in this league, they got even better. They brought in Talanoa Hufanga, brought in Dre Greenlaw. I mean, that's just more talent on top of talent. And they also drafted Jahdae Barron in the draft. I mean, this team is unreal. I hate that every single team in my division is so good at doing everything. But the Broncos, to go from the rebuild that they had some really, really bad years post Peyton Manning. But to be able to retool like they have, they bring in even Evan Ingram on the offensive side of the ball. Bo Nix, who a lot of people had questions coming into the NFL, can he be an effective starting quarterback? He was pretty damn good as a rookie. So I think that's going to continue. Sean Payton at head coach. Obviously, we know him, Hall of Fame caliber coach. I think this team is going to be really good. And the reason why, obviously, I mentioned the defense being top 5. They not only have a top 5 defense, but they have a top 10 offensive line. When it comes to average pressure rate allowed per offensive line, the Broncos were the highest overall, lowest pressure rate allowed. They were the lowest on that list at 4.8. And when it comes to their guards, they were also the lowest in that category at 3.9. So they have, do I want to say the best guard in the NFL? Off the top of my head, they might. Quinn Miners is really good, bro. He's really good. So I think this team is going to repeat the success that they had last year and even add on a couple more wins. So I have the Broncos at an 11-12 win team. And the final team in this division is my own Las Vegas Raiders. They have it at a 6.5. You can call me biased. I'm taking the over. This obviously was not a great team last year. You look at that offense, and it improved a lot. You go from quarterbacks like Aiden O'Connell. You go from quarterbacks like Desmond Ridder. And you go from quarterbacks like Gardner Minshew. And then you upgrade to Geno Smith, which a lot of people have a lot of opinions on Geno Smith. But this guy's a baller. He's going to make some questionable plays for sure. But he's a lot better than the names that I just mentioned. I mean, Geno Smith is legitimately pushing top 10 conversations, and the 3 quarterbacks that I just listed to you aren't even close to being aren't even close to being starting caliber. Gardner Minshew is probably a backup. The other 2, you could argue, shouldn't even be on NFL rosters. So that's a huge upgrade. This running back room was by far the worst in the NFL last year. And then you invest a top 10 pick on the best running back in the draft in Ashton Genty, who I think is going to come in and immediately be one of the 10 best running back in this league. And especially when you look at the receiving core, investing in Jack Besh, Dante Thornton Jr., you already have Jacoby Myers, you already have Brock Bowers. This team is going to move the ball. This offense is going to be good. Now, is the defense going to get many stops? Probably not, but you do have Max Crosby, one of the best defenders, one of the best players in the NFL, period. You have Malcolm Kuntz on the opposite side of that. And you hope that that can be enough. You hope that this offense can put up 27 points. And then when it comes down to it, one of those players make a play and you squeeze out a couple of wins. But I can see this team being a 7-win team. When you have an offense that talented, when you have an offensive player or offensive play caller in Chip Kelly, who a lot of people have a lot of opinions on, I think Chip Kelly's going to do just fine in the NFL. Obviously, his lasting impressions when he was last in the NFL was not pretty, but he's been great for Ohio State, and I think he's going to come in and be fine in the NFL. I have the Raiders as, if I had to say, I'm just going to take slightly over, and I'm going to go a 7 to 8 win team. I just don't think that's that crazy to say. Obviously, some people have some higher expectations. They have this team potentially even making the playoffs. I don't think I can see that, and that's coming from a Raider fan. So I do have them over, though, 6.5. So that's our final team in the AFC. Now we're going to move over to the NFC. I know you had touched on one of the teams you locked in the AFC, right? Which team was that? Had you touched on a team that you locked yet in the AFC?
I haven't touched on any of my teams.
Oh,
you
so
asked me
have
about
3.
the Jets, who I previously
Right.
told you I had, but I think I took them off. I no longer have them.
So you have 3 NFC locks.
2 NFC, 1 AFC.
What AFC? What was the AFC lock? Did you mention that?
I went with the other team I was flip-flopping with back when I first made this list, and I had 3 overs. I had the Jets over, and I kind of wanted to throw in an under. I didn't want to go 3 overs, so I took the Steelers under as a lock. I just don't know how much faith I have in Aaron Rodgers at this point. Defenses, they have players. Their best players are, very old. We're talking like, Cam Hayward was arguably their best player on defense last year, and he's pushing 40 at this point. Picked up Jalen Ramsey. He's in his 30s. Picked up Darius Slay, their other cornerback. He's in his mid-30s.
Yeah.
TJ Watt's still great, but he's getting older, in his 30s, not as explosive as he used to be. Still great instinct, still an amazing player, but you wonder how great that defense is still going to be, because that's really what's been holding them together these last couple years. Like, their offense has been pretty bad, pretty poorly ranked the last couple years. I believe last year they were about middle of the pack last year, but like the years before that they were 28th ranked offense. Before that, they were the 26th ranked, and they've always had a top 10 defense, and I'm just not too confident in their defense at this point.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that's kind of similar reasoning to why I had them at an under as well. But we'll go ahead and move on to the NFC. That is all the AFC divisions. And the first division we're starting out in the NFC is the NFC East. We have the last and final 11.5 team. And this is the one team that I have as an under. That is, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles. There's going to be some people that are upset about this, but my reasoning for this, they have the 4th hardest schedule in the league. And obviously they're a really good team, so that shouldn't matter a lot. But it does at the end of the day. They're in one of the hardest divisions in football. The Washington Commanders are a really good football team, and I think the Cowboys are going to bounce back in a big way. The Giants obviously are not great, but those other 2 teams, I think it's very likely that they can split. I think the Eagles can go 1-1 with the Commanders and 1-1 with the Cowboys. I think that's very realistic. And then you look at all the other teams they have to play. I believe they have to play the NFC North this year, along with everybody else in that division. And that is probably the hardest division in football. That was 3 playoff teams last year, and the other team in the Chicago Bears improved a lot. So they got a lot of tough teams on their schedule. And I'm not taking their under as, I think they're going to miss the playoffs, or I think they're going to do this or that. I just think this can be an 11-6 team. And that's not bad. That is still a great team. They can still win the Super Bowl at 11-6. But when you have 4 11.5 teams, I got to take one of the unders, and unfortunately, it's going to be the team that just won the Super Bowl. But good thing for Eagles fans, that did just happen. So I think you guys should be fine. The next team in this division is the Washington Commanders at 9.5, and I do have them as an over. This is probably one of the most exciting teams for regular fans going into this season after their historic last year. So I think they're going to be really good. The one big question mark with this team right now is the Terry McLaurin situation. I do believe that there is going to be a contract that gets done. There's been a lot of reports coming out that that's what it's, closing into. I do think that that's going to be done before the season starts. So Terry McLaurin should be back with this football team. You look at the offensive lineman or the offensive line, that gets a big improvement, bringing in Laramie Tunsil. Sam Cosmi is going to come back eventually, who was really, really good for them last year, and it sucks that he went down, but he should be coming back. I think he's going to come back midway through the season, and that's going to be a big improvement for that. Their defense was not amazing last year, but it got the job done because their offense was so effective behind Jaden Daniels, who was a heavy MVP favorite for a lot of people this year. So Commanders at 9.5. I think this is an easy double-digit win team. They were 12-5 last year. I think they're going to be at worst 10-7. So that's an over for me. Next team in this division is the Dallas Cowboys at 7.5, and I have another over. The Dallas Cowboys I am buying a lot into this year. I think a healthy Dak Prescott with CeeDee Lamb and you bring in George Pickens from the Steelers. This offense should be good. It's an improved offensive line. Their running back room is weird for sure. If I'm not mistaken, it's Miles Sanders is in the backfield along with is it? No, it's not DeAndre. No, who am I thinking of? Who is their second running back? Why is it slipping my mind?
What team are we talking about here? Sorry, I was doing some research.
The Cowboys. It's is it not the former Bronco back?
Wouldn't be. Oh, Javonte Williams.
I
was gonna say Deuce Vaughn, but I don't even know if he's still
no
on the roster, or he might be pretty far
right.
back.
Javonte Williams and whoever I just said, I can't even remember. It's a weird running back room. Miles Sanders. It's a weird running back room, but I love the receiving core. And 2 years ago when Dak was healthy and they had a pretty good receiving core, he was a top MVP candidate. So the fact that this is only 7.5, you're telling me this team has to go 8-9. I like that a lot. I think this team is going to be pretty good. So I got the Cowboys going over. The final team in this division is the New York Giants at 5.5. I have this as an under. They have the hardest schedule in the NFL this season. Now, they do have a lot of intriguing things. Their defensive line might be the best in the NFL. You have Malik Neighbors out there on offense, and their quarterbacks have looked actually pretty good in preseason. But at the end of the day, that is just preseason. And I've had to watch, Russell Wilson in my division for the past couple of years, and I know a lot of people have different opinions about him. He's not the quarterback he once was. He'll have a play every once in a while that makes you think, oh, he's elite. His stats will look pretty good with the touchdown to interception ratio. Russell Wilson is not that good, unfortunately. I'm sorry to tell everybody about it, but that should be obvious. I am buying a lot of Malik Neighbors, though. I think he's going to be really, really good this year. Potentially a fantasy target for me. We'll get into that next episode because our fantasy draft will be done. That'll be a ton of fun. But yeah, the last team in that division, New York Giants, 5.5. I have that as an under. I don't know if I see this team winning 6 games, unfortunately. Next team we have is the NFC North. Chicago Bears at 8.5. I have this as an over. I really, really, really like this team. Ben Johnson coming over from the Detroit Lions. He's going to get this offense going, and this offense has a lot of talent. Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore. You draft Colson Loveland in the first round. This team's going to be really, really good. They improved the offensive line a ton, trading for Joe Thuney. They went out and got Drew Dahlman from the Atlanta Falcons. They also brought in Jonah Jackson from the Rams. This offense is going to be really, really good. Caleb Williams, go buy stock in him immediately. It's going to be a good season for Bears fans. Do I think they're going to make the playoffs? Potentially. It's a really tough division, but I just don't know if I see this team going negative. They had a lot of dysfunction last year. That coaching staff, that team was really bad last year, and they improved it a lot. I think all you're asking this team to do is go 9-8. I don't think that's going to be very hard. I think this is a 9-8, 10-7 type of team. So that over for me is really easy. Next team in this division is the Detroit Lions, 10.5. I was really contemplating going under for this team, but I do have it as an over. You obviously lose both coordinators in Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. You lose your starting center in Frank Ragnow, which is a bigger loss than I think people realize. And even with those losses, I think this team is still going to be really good, because when you look at last year and how much injuries this team went through, and the fact that they were still the 1 seed, even though they lost to the Commanders in the playoffs. Obviously, we're not talking about the playoffs right now. We're talking about regular season. The fact that they lost that many players to IR, you lose probably the surefire defensive player of the year in Aiden Hutchinson. You lose an interior defensive lineman in Aleem McNeil, and that team was still really good. You lost your starting cornerback in Carlton Davis. I think they had the most players, and it was like by far, like it wasn't even close, most players to IR last season. And like I said, still the 1 seed, still a great team, still a really good defense, still a really good offense. I think this team is going to win 11 games. I don't think 11-6 is that crazy. I think they're going to be fine, but I do think they will take a little bit of a regression. I don't think this is going to be the number 1 seed in the NFC, but I still think they're going to be a good team. So 10.5, have that as an over. Green Bay Packers, 9.5. I also have this as an over. This team so far, or this division so far, is 3 for 3 on overs. You bring in Nate Hobbs on the defensive side of the ball. You bring in Matthew Golden on the offensive side of the ball in the draft. It's a good team. It's a good team. The one thing, obviously, that's been a thing for the Packers forever is their wide receiver core. I shouldn't say forever, but like when you look at the years where they had Devontae Adams, outside Devontae Adams, it was not a lot. And now during the Jordan Love era, it's like, can we find one wide receiver one? It's just like a ton of like solid wide receiver 2s and 3s, and they just can't find their guy. So hopefully Matthew Golden can be that, but who knows? But I still have this team as an over. I think last year, they just squeaked over that. I want to say they went 10-7. I don't think they made the playoffs at 9-8. I think they went 10-7. But yeah, I have this team as an over. Zach Tom, the offensive lineman, offensive tackle. I want to say they extended this offseason. That dude's a stud. I like this team. I like this team a lot, especially Josh Jacobs in the backfield, former Raider, great player, top 5 running back. Moving on to the Minnesota Vikings, 8.5 is their over-under. This is the first team in this division that I have an under for. You have technically, well, I can't say technically a rookie, because even though it is his first year playing actual snaps, he got a lot of experience being a rookie last year and being able to recover, but being able to be around the team, around the coaching staff, everything like that. J.J. McCarthy could be really good, but it's an entirely new situation at quarterback, and that's a little bit scary. And when you're in one of the hardest divisions in football, that's just tough. They have 2 of the best offense and defensive minds in football, luckily. So if this team were to go over, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, this team won 13 games last year with Sam Darnold at quarterback. So I think they can probably win 9 with JJ. But for the sake of the video, I didn't want to have everybody going over. Out of this division, it was either the Vikings or the Packers for me. And unfortunately, I land on the Vikings, especially with the Addison suspension that happened. So that's going to be a pretty big hit to their offense. So I have them under at 8.5. The second to last division that we're getting into is the Atlanta Falcons, the NFC South. The Atlanta Falcons are the first team we're starting with. Their over-under is pretty low, in my opinion. It's only 7.5. And I think that's a pretty easy over for me. I think this offense is going to improve a lot with Penix at the helm outside of Kirk Cousins, where it becomes very easy to scheme around an offense when Kirk Cousins is at your quarterback. I mean, he's immobile. They lined him up, in the pistol a lot last year. I think this offense is going to move. Move with Penix out there. Drew Dahlman is a really big loss. As I mentioned, he went over to the Bears. That is a really big loss on their offensive line, but they still have a ton of studs out there. This team is still going to run the ball very effectively, and I think they're going to pass the ball very effectively with Penix. But the one big thing, obviously with the Falcons every year, is their defense. Their safeties, their corners were not very great last year, and their pass rush has been bad for a while now. Obviously, they addressed that in the draft, going out and getting James Pierce and Jalen Walker in the first round. They did have to give up a first-round pick for this year, so I didn't really love that. But if you believe James Pierce is going to be really good, and he had potential. This was a guy that was in legitimate number 1 overall pick talks a few years ago for his draft. If you think he can reach that, then sure, it's probably going to be worth that first-round pick. But this defense is going to be relying on a lot of rookies to make a lot of plays to hit this over, but I'm confident in it, especially when their division is not amazing and all they have to do is go 8-9. I don't think that's very hard. Next team in this division, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 9.5. I have this also as an over. This was a team I was considering going under, especially with, I believe Tristan Wirfs is going to miss the first 4 games of the season because he was put on the PUP list. But I still think this team is really good. Baker Mayfield is one of the better quarterbacks in the league. It's crazy to say. He's easily top 10 in my opinion. Obviously losing Liam Cohen hurts a lot, but this offense I think is still going to be effective. You have Mike Evans, you have Ibuka. Chris Godwin is not going to be ready, if I'm not mistaken, to start the year, but I think this team is still going to be good. Their defense is still solid. The offensive line is still good. Obviously without Wirfs, it takes a pretty significant drop, but 9.5, can I see this team being a double-digit win team for sure? But I think it's going to be right there. Like, I don't see this team winning 8 games, and I don't see this team winning 11 games. I see them like literally either 9 or 10. Like, I think this is like literally a perfect line for them. It's crazy. So I have them going 10-7, but if they did go 9-8, not a big surprise. Next team in this division is the Carolina Panthers at 6.5. I do have this as an under. I think 6.5 is a little bit high. Now, I believe they probably have a pretty easy schedule. Let me check. They have the 7th easiest schedule, especially, with being in that division. So I guess 6.5 makes sense. I do think this team is going to be very, very improved, especially on the offensive side of the ball. T-Mac and Bryce Young look to have a pretty damn good connection in preseason so far. Their offensive line, even though I thought it was going to take a really big jump the past few years with the additions they've made, it hasn't, hit that certain level. But hopefully this is the year that they get it going. On the defensive side of the ball, they bring in Trayvon Merrick. And as a Raider fan, Panthers, you got your guys a player. Trayvon Merrick is a really, really, really good safety. So he's going to be a stud for you guys. But 6.5, I just think is a little bit rich for me. I think they're going to be a 6-win team on the dot. And I think that's improvement. As long as Trey Young. As long as Bryce Young looks good out there at the helm, T-Mac looks good for a receiver. He's out there fighting for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think it's a successful season for them. But 6.5, as I mentioned, just too rich for me. New Orleans Saints, this was the easiest under of the video. This team last year started out 2-0 with Derek Carr at the helm. They blew out the Panthers and the Cowboys, I want to say. They proceeded to win 3 games the rest of the year. Those 3 games were the Falcons, sorry, Jaden, the Browns, and the Giants. So 5.5 to say that this team is going to win 6 games, that seems pretty rich to me. That was the easiest under of the video. And I know I've been rolling. I can't remember. Have you touched on any of your locks in the NFC?
No. And I mean,
No.
that's with all the research I've been doing right here. I've been kind of switching my locks the more and more I think about it. My original locks that I had told you were the Niners, the Cowboys, and the Jets all over.
And the Jets.
And I think of those three, I think the only one I'm going to stick with at this point is the Cowboys over at 7.5.
I do really like that line as well.
I think that's a really good over, especially with the healthy Dak, CeeDee Lamb, who's one of the best receivers in the league, Offensive Player of the Year candidate. Add George Pickens, another weapon that can take, some pressure off of CeeDee from being basically the only weapon in that offense last year.
Yeah.
They have a decent offensive line. Defense, getting back a healthy Micah. I'm not too amazed with their defense, but I think
they have enough playmakers to make it work.
I think it'll be I think it'll be enough to, win games, hold on to leads.
Yeah.
I think they can run up the score pretty well against, they have a somewhat, hard schedule, but
especially with
I think their over-under is pretty low at 7.5. I think that's a good lock for me.
Yeah, because if you think about it, they're probably going to be a top 10 offense if they're healthy. And as long as if their defense is 18 to 15, I mean, that's going to win you 8 or 9 games. I mean, a top 10 offense with a middle-of-the-pack defense. That's
their defense was really bad, though, last year also. So
yeah, 100%.
You hope they can, improve.
But I think that is also a reflection of the offense being bad. Like when your offense is bad, your defense is going to be. It's just what happens. And then the final division that we're going to touch on before we get into our awards is the NFC West, starting out with the Los Angeles Rams, the only team to make the playoffs from this division last year, 9.5. I have this as an under. I know that's a little bit shocking. I really, really do like the Rams, though. Like, I like them a lot. Like, even though this team has not been the greatest regular season-wise the past 2 or so years, I legit thought these were teams that could have went into the playoffs and like made a run to the Super Bowl again. I mean, last year with those young players out there on defense, Braden Fisk, Jared Verse, Byron Young, Kobe Turner. I mean, that defensive line is fun, bro. This whole defense is a lot of fun, a lot of great players. And the offense behind Matthew Stafford is probably the most underrated quarterback of the 2010s, and now he's halfway into the 2020s. The dude is unreal, but he has had, I want to say, a back injury that he's been dealing with. Now, the reports is that he's going to be fine for week 1, but it still scares me. You talk about an older quarterback dealing with a back injury. You need your back to throw the football. So that's a little bit concerning to me. They did bring in Devontae Adams in free agency, but I don't know. 9.5, you see them being a double-digit win team, especially if Stafford does end up missing games. I think it could look rough for this team. Now, not the only, but one really bright spot, and I mentioned this earlier with the team, this team is going to go into next year with 2 first-round picks. That's huge. I mean, that is huge, especially if this team wins 8 or 9 games, so do the Falcons. I mean, you're going to have 2 middle-of-the-pack first-round picks. That's really, really damn good, especially for a team like this that's like in that weird competing but also rebuilding mode. So I like that a lot for them. But unfortunately, I have them under at 9.5. The San Francisco 49ers, 10.5. I originally did have this as an over, and obviously talking it over with Jaden. They have the easiest schedule in the league, like by far. They are the most confusing team, and their line is really high, especially after being a not-so-great team last year. It's at 10.5. So this is me saying that this team will win 11 games. But they do have a lot of talent on the team still, despite losing a lot of players over the past few years. Ricky Pearsall, from what I've seen in preseason, that dude's going to be really good. Brock Purdy's going to enjoy throwing him the football. Kyle Shanahan's going to enjoy drawing up plays for them. And I think as long as, I mean, that's been the question for CMC his whole career, but as long as he stays on the field, we know he's one of the best offensive threats in football. And did you keep this lock for one of your threes?
No, that was not.
No.
One of my.
I get it. Yeah.
Just the more I look at their defense and their secondary, it's just.
Yeah.
I mean, their secondary. Players I like. I mean, Diamond Lenore is a solid corner. Malik Mustafa is fun, but kind of undersized.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, it is probably the most confusing team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, their front seven is. I mean, they got Bosa and Fred Warner. Michael Williams, you hope, can, pan out. He's an athletic freak, drafted off his traits, not the most polished rookie. But, it's the more I look at their defense and, I mean, their weapons. You're assuming McCaffrey can come back and, still produce at a, top running back level. But at receiver, you don't have much. You got Kittle,
and you're hoping for Ayuk to bounce back.
And that's the thing. When is Ayuk? When is his timeline to return?
Honestly, I don't even know.
That's the thing.
I don't think
he's not ready week 1 for sure.
Yeah, I don't think he is. So it is weird. I think this is the team that has the biggest range in the NFL. Like if this team next year were to win 7 or 8 games, I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, if this team were to win 12 games next year, like I'm also not, well, I would say I'm surprised, but I'm not like, oh my God. Like I'm just like, wow, the Niners really bounced back. But it's a very, very confusing team, to say the least. So 10.5, I do still have it as an over. I still do.
Yeah, I think so too, just based off their schedule. I mean, they play, I mean, their division isn't the greatest. They also play the who do they play? I was just looking at.
I want to say they play the
NFC South. Oh, they play the NFC South and the AFC South.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's 2 of the easiest divisions in football, and honestly, I mean, I wouldn't say their division's a third, but their division's probably top 5 easiest.
Yeah. It's not super. They got a lot of teams that are like in that like 7 to 10 win range. So they don't have like none like insane elite teams, but they have like 3 other really good teams in their division. So it's weird. But I do think they are maybe the best at full health. I think it's them at the Rams, arguably. But 10.5 still do have it as an over. The second to last team that we're touching on is the Seattle Seahawks, 8.5. I also have this as an over. I originally had this at an under. The more and more I think about it, I really like this Seattle team. Gray Zabel that they got in the draft. I mean, that dude has been a stud. A stud in preseason so far. They finally addressed the offensive line after having easily the worst in football last year. So that was a huge thing. They have a ton of talent on defense. I think it's probably the most underrated. I know I said that about the Texans, but I think it's them and the Texans as the most underrated defenses in the league. I mean, you look at a lot of metrics, and they're towards the top. They have a lot of talent on this defense. And on the offensive side of the ball, you're bringing in a lot of new faces. You lose Metcalf, you lose Geno, and you bring in Darnold, and you bring in Kupp. It's a complete swing. Lot of new faces. JSN is now that one on that team. We're going to see what he can do. I'm pretty excited to see that. JSN is wide receiver 1. But I think they're still going to be a good football team. I think they won 10 games last year, but they just unfortunately missed the playoffs. I think this is going to be, again, a 9 or 10 win team. So I have them as an over. And the final team that we will talk about, they're over under the Arizona Cardinals, also at an 8.5. I have this as an under, unfortunately. I am buying Marvin Harrison Jr. stock this year. Obviously, I still like Kyler Murray. But outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., they have a questionable receiving core. Their edge rushers are not pretty. Their DB room is solid. Not the greatest, but it is solid. So it's kind of like a pretty big question mark for me, for that team. And yeah, those are all 32 teams over under. Let us know what you guys think about that.
I'm gonna say my last lock because I know I haven't said it yet. So I had the Cowboys over. I said the Steelers under 8.5. We talked about that. My last lock that I just decided on about 15 minutes ago was it's gonna be the Bills over.
The Bills
over. Okay. What is their line at? 11.5 or 12?
Yeah.
Some of the sites are saying different things. So I'll take 11.5.
I guess I should have mentioned this before we got into it, but this is off of ESPN. I just wanted to go, through a regular source that a lot of people are also going to be looking at. So these numbers are all right from ESPN over under. But the Bills, they're at 11.5, and you took that as a lock. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean they got a favorable schedule. Fifth easiest schedule, which is kind of interesting because they play. I know they play their division, and I think this schedule metric I'm looking at is based off the Vegas forecasted win totals for this upcoming season. So I know sometimes some of those strength of schedule is based on the records from last year, but this one I'm looking at has them at 5th, and it's based on the projected wins from the teams they play this year. And they play the AFC North division. That's not an easy division. I'm kind of surprised they have them at 5th, but I mean they play their own division that's pretty easy. They will probably sweep that division.
Yeah,
or they could drop one to the Patriots, but other than that, I think they sweep Miami and New York. They play also the NFC South, easy division. Mm-hmm. They could sweep that too, but yeah, I think I again, I don't know if I see a world where I see that team losing. What would that be? 6 games. So yeah, I agree with that for sure. Those aren't some bad locks. Again, let us know what you guys think down below about those over-under predictions. I know every single fan of every team that we picked under is going to hate us, but we live with that. Anyway, with that being out the way, we got awards. We're going to go over MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, Protector of the Year, new award, and Comeback Player of the Year. We'll start out with MVP. I have my winner as Lamar Jackson. Who do you have as yours? I also have Lamar Jackson.
Lamar. Yeah, it's a pretty lame choice. I legitimately think he should, if he were to win it this upcoming year, I legitimately think he would be on a 3 MVP streak, which I don't think has ever happened in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. But unfortunately, he did not win it last year. Josh still rightfully deserved it.
I believe that has happened, by the way, though. Didn't Brett Favre win 3 MVPs?
Were they in a row?
I believe so.
I think he did win back-to-back for sure. 3 in a row would be nuts. But
yeah, he did.
Yeah.
From 95, 96 to 97.
Shout out Brett, the gunslinger. But yeah, we both have Lamar, and I have a dark horse for every single award. And these dark horses, it's not like, I think Lamar's going to win it, dark horse Jaden Daniels, because everybody knows that could very well happen. My dark horses are like players, when you go look to bet on them, you're going to win a lot of money if they win these awards. And the first I have for MVP, or the only dark horse I have for MVP, is Dak Prescott. Right now, his odds are pretty low. And when you look at the improved offense, I think he can have a very similar year to 2 years ago and potentially even better. And if he lucks out and the NFL has a down year in passing like it did 2 years ago, and he performs a lot better, I could see that happening. So I have Dak Prescott as my dark horse. Moving on to Offensive Player of the Year, Bijan Robinson. Same for you?
No, I actually have Jamar Chase.
Really? Falcon fan not going with the Bijan. No, I get it. I it's just the Atlanta Falcons, they have a hell of an offensive line. Bijan Robinson had some unreal numbers last year. I think it's his year. I want to say no, he's not. I think Gibbs is the betting favorite, and I think right behind that is Jamar Chase. So I don't think that's a bad take at all. Do you think he can repeat Triple Crown status?
I mean, Triple Crown is one of those weird kind of awards. Like, it's kind of hard to, lead in receptions, receiving yards and touchdowns. I mean, obviously that's hard to do, but I'm saying, like, what am I trying to say? Like, it's just. I mean, Triple Crown is not easy to do.
Yeah, predicting that. You'd also have to hope for some injuries.
But also, I think he could win it without being Triple Crown. I think he could. Yeah. I think he could put up similar numbers to what he did last year. He could put up. That's the thing. He could put up similar numbers and not win Triple Crown. That's the thing. Right. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Because you pretty much have to make the playoffs to win this award. So if the Bengals don't, he can be as great as he wants. I don't know if he'll get it. So yeah, it could be tough. And my dark horse for this award originally was a different player, but I was looking at the odds, and I landed on Brian Thomas Jr., second-year receiver out of LSU. He had an unreal rookie season, arguably the best rookie last year with a class that had a ton of studs. And if he's able to repeat that success and obviously grow on that, and this team, sneaks into the playoffs at, 10-7, whatever it may be, he puts up, I don't know, maybe 100 or so catches, 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, whatever. That's a little bit low. Maybe he'd need to be a lot better because Jamar Chase was a lot better than that, and he didn't win it. But I think BTJ is a hell of a talent. He's a home run threat at wide receiver. He can take any play to the crib. So for a dark horse, again, my dark horses are like real dark horses. Like, you go bet money on these guys, you're going to win a lot. So BTJ is my dark horse. Defensive player of the year, I think it's finally this guy's year. I think he was second 3 years in a row to start off his career. Maybe he was only back-to-back. But I got Micah Parsons. Do you also?
I also have Micah Parsons.
Yeah. I think it's his year, especially if he's able to hold that Cowboys defense together, and he's able to put up similar numbers that he's been doing his entire career. I think it could very well be his year. Unfortunately, the Cowboys were not great last year when it was a down year for defensive players. Obviously, no shot at Patrick Surtain, but there was almost like no one really close. There was like no one that was even competing with him to win that. So I think if Micah can have a great season this year, Cowboys sneak into the playoffs. They have a middle of the pack defense, but if he's performing out of his mind, I can finally see him getting one. And my dark horse is also a cornerback that I think can have a similar season to Patrick Surtain. Not to that level, probably, because that was a pretty unreal season by PS2. But Christian Gonzalez, down there in New England, I think they're going to have a much, much, much improved defense. And you go look at the numbers, Christian Gonzalez is that guy. You got PS2, Derek Stingley as probably 1 and 2 corners in the league. Christian Gonzalez is most likely 3, I think, to a lot of people. So I got Gonzo as my dark horse. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I have Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty for the Raiders. Got to be a little bit biased there. Who do you got winning Offensive Rookie of the Year?
I also have Ashton Jeanty.
Jeanty, yeah. I felt like there was going to be a lot of similar answers for this. Some of these guys are just easy picks. It's hard to go with Cam Ward, a rookie quarterback, who it was playing not a super easy schedule. It might be a rough start for him, so I'm going with the surefire talent in Jeanty. And my dark horse, Texans second-round pick, Jaden Higgins. He's going to be the wide receiver 2 down there in Houston. I think this guy's a baller. He can put up some really good numbers. If this guy, let's say Jeanty, Cam Ward, whoever it may be, doesn't really perform up to the level that we expect, and he comes out and he has 950 yards and 10 touchdowns or something like that, I could see him winning it. a little bit sneaky. I don't know if I see 1,000 yards for him, but like I said, it's a dark horse. Maybe it will happen, but it probably won't. Defensive Rookie of the Year, favorite, Abdul Carter. Guessing we linked up there again.
No, I actually have Landon Jackson for the Buffalo.
Really?
I'm joking. No,
I was going to say. Really,
Abdul Carter.
I mean, the odds he even gets playing time is slim. But, yeah, Abdul Carter, I mean, best defensive player in this class. So that's a pretty easy pick. My dark horse.
I mean, he looks unblockable in the preseason. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
I know he's playing
100%
against backups, but he is just tearing.
As long as you don't play that one clip. Oh man, that was bad. That was AI generated. Dude, he replied to a comment on Twitter. Like, it's crazy when you have these like Gen Z players in the NFL now. Someone commented and was like, AI is getting out of control, and he literally replied and was like, dude, I know, I can't believe people are falling for this or something like that. And it's like, bro, that's unreal. So as long as you delete that from existence, Abdul Carter is going to be a great player. My dark horse, though, a lot of people probably aren't going to see coming. Walter Nolan for the Arizona Cardinals. Again, these dark horses are like 1 out of 100 chance, but who knows? Maybe he takes over the starting job, and the dude's a stud. So I got Walter Nolan as my dark horse. Coach of the Year. Who do you have for this? I'm interested to see who you have as the winner for Coach of the Year.
I have the coach for one of my locks, and that's going to be Sean McDermott.
Sean McDermott. Yeah, that's a good pick.
I think they could be the 1 seed, so that's why I kind of.
Yeah.
Coach of the Year is one of the hard ones to pick. So
yeah,
you could pick a new guy who, it doesn't have to be the coach with the best record. I mean, and when's the last time Andy Reid's won a Coach of the Year?
Right.
So,
yeah, it is one of those awards. It's kind of like whoever the best like surprise team is in a way, or it's like whichever coach does the most with the least. You know what I mean? Like Brian Daboll a few years ago won it with the Giants when they went I think 9-7 or something like that. But obviously that team was not amazing and they made the playoffs. So it's like, yeah, you got to give it to him. But my Coach of the Year is a new coach this year for the Chicago Bears, Ben Johnson. Again, I'm buying a lot in the Chicago Bears team. That's actually our next video, is buying and selling stocks. So spoiler alert, I'm going to be buying a lot into the Chicago Bears. So Ben Johnson is going to be my Coach of the Year. And my dark horse, not necessarily a dark horse name, but his odds are pretty low. And I think this team is going to be really good, as I mentioned earlier. And that's Sean Payton. I think the Broncos are going to be really, really good. And Sean Payton, I think, is not even in the top 10 for odds to win it. He might be 8, 9, or 10, but he's not very high. And I was surprised by that because I think the Broncos are going to be, unreal. Unreal. I'm talking about top 2 potential seed in the AFC potential. This team, I'm buying a lot in. And moving on to the second to last award, I don't have a dark horse for this, by the way, but Newly Award, Protector of the Year. I'm going to guess that we linked up on this once again, and I have Lane Johnson for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I also have Lane Johnson. Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
It's a pretty easy pick.
I'm interested to see how they, what their process is of choosing. Yeah. Are they just going to go PFF? There is stats that, you can use for offensive linemen, island percentage, pressures allowed, sacks allowed, things like that. But, yeah, there's not too many stats to go off of.
Honestly, I think this award is going to kind of be like a popularity contest, in my opinion. I think they're obviously going to use stats, but I think once it comes down to it, I think it's going to kind of be like that. But I am interested to see which way they go this year. But Lane Johnson is my pick. Been maybe the best pass protector for a while now. I think Tristan Wirfs, Penei Sewell are some names that have a chance, but Lane Johnson is our pick. And then comeback player of the year, I mean, there really is only one option. Again, I think we've linked up here is Aiden Hutchinson for the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
You know, going down with that injury last year, looked like the surefire defensive player of the year. I think he's going to come back and be just as great as a player. So, comeback player of the year as Aiden Hutchinson. Just to recap that, MVP Lamar Jackson, Offensive Player of the Year Bijan Robinson, Defensive Player of the Year Michael Parsons, Offensive Rookie of the Year Ashton Genty, Defensive Rookie of the Year Abdul Carter, Coach of the Year Ben Johnson, Protector of the Year Lane Johnson, and Comeback Player of the Year Aiden Hutchinson. Those are our over-unders, and those are our awards. So you guys can let us know what you think about our awards down below in the comments as well. But that's all the NFL talk. Let's get into my favorite segment of these podcasts, Off the Field. This is going to be where we literally talk nothing about football, but everything else. And we're going to start out, we just got back from a family event. We do these all the time where we watch the UFC fights, order some food, hang out with the family, and watch some fights. I believe it was UFC 319. And I'm going to let Jaden take over here. He's the big UFC, big boxing guy, and I'll chime in wherever I feel his need. But I felt like this was a pretty entertaining card, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it was a solid card. I know some people weren't happy with the outcome. I mean, not the outcome of the main event, but more so like how the main event went. It was a dominant win. I picked Hamzat. I like Hamzat. I thought Dricus. I mean, I didn't think he was the clear. I thought it was a pretty close fight. I thought if it went past like the first or second round, Dricus could take him into deep waters. We know Hamzat doesn't have the greatest gas tank. And that was just a complete opposite. I mean, Hamzat was able to take down Dricus at will, like 4 minutes of control time every round. Didn't do the most damage, but I mean, he was just blanketing him. Like it was a dominant win. And I mean, there were some very flashy KOs on this card. Back to back
spinning elbows. I mean,
knockouts. Yeah,
I had never seen like that. That's the one at the end of the buzzer. I mean, that was crazy.
Process,
Max Holloway-esque. I mean, at the buzzer, that was unreal. I hadn't seen knockouts like that before. So to see two, I think it was still a pretty entertaining. Obviously, the main event was not as entertaining, but I do think it was a pretty entertaining fight. Like even like MVP, he kind of put on a show. He's a pretty flashy fighter. But
there was a lot of finishes on this card and the prelims.
Crazy. Yeah,
it was a pretty decent fight day.
Yeah, I think it was pretty solid. I think obviously, as we mentioned, the spinning elbows took it away for sure. So obviously I'm not into UFC as much as you, but what is like the next potential fight for like a Hamzat?
I mean, the number one contender at middleweight is Nasruddin Imavov. I don't believe he has a fight. I mean, Hamzat, we know Hamzat. He's like a 1, maybe 2 fight a year kind of guy. I don't see him fighting again before the year ends, most likely. And then that gets kind of tough because going into next year, you got, Ramadan and, Muslim fighters. It's hard for them to fight in that February to April range, especially like having a training camp during that. It's tough to really prepare to your fullest. So we could see, we could not see him come back for a minute, but I think I don't know who he loses to at middleweight. I think Anthony Hernandez would be a good matchup. He's great on the ground. He has good boxing, good takedown defense. He's a submission threat off his back, and on the fighters, on top of the fighter. He's a good fighter. I think he'd give the hardest matchup to Hamzat. But other than that, I don't know when we see him back in the ring. I doubt it's before the end of the year, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the second time I've seen him fight. And yeah, I know a lot of people are gonna call that boring, but that was an unreal fight.
Yeah,
Like,
I've never seen dominance like that from from the challenger on a champion on a very good champ. I mean, Jerkis. I mean, he was what 9-0 in the UFC. I mean, he was finishing everybody. I mean, he was a dominant champion. He had what two title defenses. Yeah. I mean, Jerkis is a great fighter. Hamzat is in a class of his own in terms of wrestling and one of the best wrestlers of all time.
Tough to go
in the UFC,
something like that. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's the UFC talk. I got one more thing that I want to talk about off the field. Me and Jaden are pretty big into movies. We go watch a lot of movies. And I want to say, I don't think we didn't watch this last movie together. Have you seen Jurassic Park? The newest one?
Jurassic World Rebirth?
It's like Jurassic Rebirth. Yeah, it's one that came out like a month or two ago.
No,
now.
I haven't.
Okay, so we won't do that. But I have 7 other movies here, and I want to say we watched all of these together this year. And I think it's been a pretty good year for movies. So I want to rank these 1 through 7. We could either do it together or separately, but I guess I'll hear your opinion first, and then I'll see if that matches up with me. So we have Superman, we have Sinners, we have Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, F1, Weapons, and Captain America, Brave New World. In your opinion, if you had to rank those 1 through 7, what do you think? How would that go for you personally? And if you want me to, I could run that list back if you need me to.
I know my number 1 is going to be Sinners.
Mm-hmm. I saw that coming.
My number 2, name them again.
It's Sinners. You had number 1. We also have Superman, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, F1, Weapons, and Captain America, Brave New World.
Man, a lot of those movies I kind of put in like the same tier.
Yeah, I know that's the thing.
It's hard to rank one above the other. For me,
I think they are very similar as far as ranking.
I haven't rewatched it yet. Like I've rewatched. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say I rewatched. The only one that I've rewatched other than Sinners is Fantastic Four. I've watched twice.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I think about it, I think I just personally enjoyed Thunderbolts more. Damn, that's tough. I don't actually. Now that I think about it, I don't know if I agree with that. Now that I think about it,
I don't think that's that crazy of a take. Thunderbolts is. Really
I'm gonna put
good.
Fantastic Four at 2. I like Fantastic Four. I thought it's a good MCU movie. I think for where we're at in the MCU, it's a great MCU movie. But in terms of like the entirety of it, it's a good MCU movie.
For sure.
3. I would probably say Superman at 3.
That makes sense.
Damn, thinking about it, I was just about to put Thunderbolts at 2, and now I might have it at 5 because I forgot about Weapons. Weapons was a pretty good movie.
I've seen a lot of mixed reviews now that it's like out and a lot of people have seen it, but I really liked it.
I think I'm gonna put Weapons at 4, Thunderbolts at 5, and Captain America at 6.
What about F1?
Oh shit, I forgot about F1. Damn it.
That would probably go 6, or would you rank that above like a Weapons or a Thunderbolts?
Damn.
Because you have Sinners, Fantastic Four, Superman.
See, I like F1 too. I know people have it. They say it's like the worst of the like 3 racing movies that came out, like Ford vs Ferrari, and I forgot what the other one was. But I liked F1 though. Damn. I'll say. So I had Superman at 3. At 4, I had Thunderbolts, right?
You had Weapons.
No, I had Weapons
and
at
then
4.
Thunderbolts.
Yeah, Weapons at 4, Thunderbolts 5, F1 6, and Captain
6, Captain
7.
America 7. I can respect that. I think mine and yours look a little bit similar in certain spots. I also do have Sinners as one. If anybody hasn't watched Sinners, please go watch it. I think it's on Max right now. My goodness, I think easily movie of the year. Sinners at 1 for me. I have Superman at 2. One of my favorite superhero movies I've watched in a long time. I have Thunderbolts at 3. Maybe a little bit of surprise there, but I have that over Fantastic Four. I do have Fantastic Four at number 4, unironically. I have Weapons.
Say that again?
Right behind that. Nice. I like that. Weapons right behind that at number 5. F1 at number 6, and Captain America at number 7. I think this year, out of these 7 movies that I've watched more movies in the theaters than this, but just the ones that we've watched together, I legitimately think, and people are going to not like this, but I think Captain America is the only movie that I would say is like pretty mid to me. I think the other 6 are legitimate, like high 7s to 8 to 9s. Like, I think there were a lot of bangers this year. I think Captain America is the only one where it's like, in my opinion, I think it's like probably in the 6s out of 10 to me. Everything else, I mean, the lowest, would I have F1? I'd probably say F1 is like a 7-8 out of 10, something like that. And everything else may be in the 8s. But it's been a good year for movies. I mean, like I said, you look at this list, a lot of good reviews, bro. Sinners.
Keep in mind, we're pretty casual. So there's probably a lot more movies that we haven't seen that.
No, yeah, 100%. Because I remember looking at some of the lists when I was like, I kind of wanted to go. I wanted to sign up for that movie thing where like you get to go to a certain amount of movies per month if you sign up to it. And there were a lot of movies that I'm seeing people review and they're like saying how great they are. Like I also watched Together this year, and I thought that movie was going crazy with the reviews. Like it was similar to like Weapons for a little bit, where it was like Weapons came out and it's like, 100% certified fresh. Like Together was rated pretty high, and I thought it was a pretty good movie. I don't think it was that high. By the way, if Jurassic Park was included on this, again, a lot of people are not going to like this. That is the worst movie of the year for me. My goodness, that movie was so bad. Oh, I'm going to piss so much people off with that, but I'm sorry. I just couldn't get behind it. The worst movie of the year? Like for that I've seen. That I've seen. I think especially of the big ones, like the ones that are being marketed, I think it's the worst, bro. I think it's a bad movie, man. And I have seen like a lot of people I've heard, like even on podcasts and stuff, they'll say that they liked it. And I'm just like, man, I just can't. Maybe it's because like, I mean, I would consider myself like middle tier for like movie watchers. Like, I don't think I'm like super casual. I don't think I'm like super into it. But I think I can like understand obviously when a movie's good. Like I'm not just gonna watch anything and be like, oh yeah, it's action, it's good. So I think it didn't hit for me, unfortunately.
All right, I got a question. Would you rather rewatch that movie or watch the new World of Worlds? I don't know if you've heard about that.
Oh my goodness, bro! That I'd rather rewatch Jurassic Park, honestly.
No, not gonna lie. I think I'd rather watch World. I don't think I ever will, but I think I would just to see just how stupid it is.
Dude,
I think it's the worst idea, like script ever.
Yeah, made. Bro, the amount of clips that I've seen online from it, especially the one where it's like, oh my God, he's like, it was you the whole time. And bro, I've seen that meme so many times. There was one
or like when he thinks his son is dying. He thought his son died, and he's like, no.
He literally saw his son die in the camera, and he's just like sitting there like shocked.
He's acting like his team just turned the ball over on downs or something. Stopped at the 1 yard line.
Clipped for me, man. My goodness. That's genuinely movie of the year. But at least you didn't have to like go to the movies to watch that. Jurassic Park, I unfortunately did waste money on, so that one hurts a little bit more. But yeah, I think those would be my rankings. Sinner 1, Superman 2, Thunderbolts 3, Fantastic Four 4, Weapons 5, F1 6, Brave New World 7. So those would be mine. And I think that's going to be it for us. That was a great first episode, in my opinion. If you guys did make it this far, make sure to leave a like. Make sure to rate us 5 stars. And thank you guys so much. We got a lot more to come. Hopefully you guys stay tuned. And yeah, see you guys in the next episode. Peace.